Okay, so um, as requested last time when we did the Zoom, to say something about the bodhicitta, I will try my best. And again, I have to say this. Our language, language and what do they call it? Philology is going to be challenging. I think it's really difficult to translate bodhicitta. Anyway, according to the Mahayana sutras and the Shastras, just the fact that there is the term bodhicitta still alive today, and that you and I are talking about it, this alone means that we have done something so good in our past lives. When some sutra says that there will be a day when term such as bodhicitta and its meaning will no more exist. And that is almost close to dark age. Not the total dark age, but quite close. Bodhicitta is really vast and deep. This is a big subject for the Mahayana. And of course, initially it was taught by the Buddha, and subsequently there were a lot of teachings on bodhicitta. One of the most popular and revered in Tibet somehow is a text called Bodhicharya Avatara, written by Shantideva. But there were many other texts. It's not just Chandradeva's Bodhicharya Avatara, many other texts. Chandradeva's Bodhicharya Avatara just came into my mind, so I'm saying this. But if you think about Shantadeva's Bodhicharya Avatara, that text, which is really about bodhicitta, it is, if you think about the context of this text, it's quite something to think about. I think in places like Peru, again, the reason why I'm talking about Peru is at the moment they're playing football with Brazil, right this very moment. Oh, sorry. Okay, so yeah, in Peru, I think there is a civilization called Mayan civilization, right? And when Bodhicharya Avatara was composed or written or taught in India, Mayan civilization was still alive. So this is something to think about. It was the beginning of the decline, I think. And then in Japan, since it looks like there are some Japanese people listening, Nara period. It was during the Nara period. And in India, I think the Pala dynasty in West Bengal was sort of thriving at that time. And this is something to note. Jataka Mala Sutra was, I think at that time, translated in Arabic language. And in Indonesia, Borobudur, the big stupa, Borobudur was just beginning to construct. And now I have to say this. This is all preparation to say the following. So-called Great Britain doesn't even exist. I hope Richard Dixie is listening. Vikings, where are they from? Sweden, right? Sweden. The Swedish Vikings were just beginning to go to England and make the English people learn how to at least be like a human. So when we look at this context, I think as a Buddhist, I feel very, I don't know, I feel very moved that such a concept like a bodhicitta is still being studied, practiced, and read, and thousands of commentaries. Now, I think now the idea, the concept, the term bodhicitta has been watered down too much. The bodhicitta is almost bodhicitta is measured, or bodhicitta is seen as something very philanthropic, compassionate, loving, kind, sort of smiling, non-violent, that's about it. Then people don't go beyond that. Now, that is a really big downfall. If you really want to know about bodhicitta, approaching bodhicitta this way is there's a big loss. There is an aspect of the bodhicitta that is ruthlessly, relentlessly ruthless aspect. That is so important. Ruthlessly honest, ruthlessly raw, and ruthlessly, blatant or honest or truthful. This is the part that this aspect of the bodhicitta, not many people pay attention. And I think partly it's because of the, fault of a different culture, I would say. Because almost always when you go to let's say a traditional Buddhist temple, Mahayana temple, a bodhisattva is always depicted as someone who's very compassionate, like very, kind eyes, Avalokiteshvara, Aryatara, very, like nice people, basically. Even though if you closely look at the Mahayana temples, especially Vajrayana temples, there are a lot of bodhisattvas. They are not what you would in our mundane world would call those nice guys. They don't look good, very, wrathful. Their methods maybe not necessarily, gentle, yeah. And this is because I think, as I said, the aspect of the bodhicitta, which is something to do with the truth, has been watered down or not emphasized or forgotten. And this is why. This happens, like someone would say, oh, he's really like a bodhisattva. What does this mean? Usually, very, gentle, not short-tempered, very forgiving, patient, softly spoken. Usually we say, oh, he's a bodhisattva. We don't hardly say someone who shout, yell, rude. We hardly say, oh, he's a great bodhisattva. I think bodhisattva also, bodhicitta also gets interpreted as some sort of a kind heart, kind mind, and then that's it. That's where it stops. Doesn't really go beyond that. Then you are missing a big part of the bodhicitta. You know, in the Mahayana Sutras and the Shastras, they say that the bodhicitta is like an alchemy. If the bodhicitta is just a kind heart, kind mind, loving, compassionate, if that's all there is, then bodhicitta can never become alchemy. And also we read in the Mahayana text that as long if you have a bodhicitta, nothing, there's not a single thing that you do that will not become beneficial to sentient beings. Such a statement is because bodhicitta is not just kind, gentle, soft, compassionate. It is beyond that. That's why they can afford to say such things. So we are going to sort of, I will try to decipher some of the reason why bodhicitta is not just kind, compassionate, loving kindness. At glance, one would think that the bodhicitta is the mind that wishes to free sentient beings from the suffering, which is correct, sort of, not complete, but that has some element. But bodhicitta is not a mind that wishes to free beings from the suffering. Not just that. It has to go beyond that. It has to have this element to free beings from the cause of the suffering. Now, even more complicated is what is the suffering? And here again, I have to remind people, the English word suffering may be not doing the justice for the word dukkha in Sanskrit. Of course, what is, I don't need to say that nobody wants to suffer. I mean, that's standard, that's given. Who wants to suffer? Nobody wants to suffer. And if we know the cause of that kind of suffering, we will also try to do something. So wish and effort to go away from a suffering that we usually talk, that exists with everyone. But not everybody wishes to be free from happiness. When we talk about a bodhicitta, from the bodhicitta's point of view, happiness is also a problematic. I mean, the happiness that you and I think and talk about. Because from the bodhicitta's point of view, or from the bodhisattva yana's point of view, so-called happiness that we have is actually untrustable. It's conditioned, it's fabricated, it's dependent to lots of cause and conditions. Therefore, you can't really rely, you can't trust. But here, to free ourselves from happiness and the cause of happiness, that kind of gut and that kind of courage, lot of Indian wisdom tradition has it. It's not really Buddhism or Mahayana exclusive. Okay, so I've already said, okay, to be free from suffering, we want. Bodhisattva also want. But Bodhisattva also want to be free from happiness. That's what makes the Bodhicitta kind of special. Now, the third one, even more important, Bodhisattva or the Bodhicitta is a wish to free all sentient beings from all phenomena. Now, this is what makes the Bodhicitta special. The moment there is a concept, okay, just so that we can understand what I'm talking about, such as values. I don't know, language. Even the very path that the bodhisattva is, bodhisattva or the practitioner is practicing, bodhisattva wishes to be free from. So this makes the bodhicitta, I would say, unique. I'm sorry, probably I'm putting it in a very academic and complicated way. I will try to simplify as we go. So this example I often use when I teach, such as teach Mahayana path. When a mother is playing with a kid in the sand, in the beach, and when the kids, construct a sand castle, and the mother also really helped building it. But there is an element, there's a part in the mother that knows that this sand castle is not really a real castle. This is a good example, probably, for the bodhicitta. So, earlier I was talking about relentlessly, ruthlessly truthful, so to speak. By the time it's 8 o'clock in the evening, mother will say to the kids, okay, let's pack, let's go back. So being honest about the fact, whatever. So this element is, I think, something that Mahayana practitioners really can't afford to miss when we talk about the bodhicitta. Once we understand this aspect, then one will realize that actually with a bodhicitta, all so-called many non-virtue, so-called non-virtuous, actually we can turn them into virtuous. And this is why you hear, like, for non-Mahayana, or I don't know, for other religious people, maybe this is something they cannot understand. The Mahayana would say, oh, a bodhisattva could tell a lie, and that lie can be virtuous. And usually when we explain this, we always talk about intention, or a bodhisattva could, maybe for the sake of saving lots and lots of people, maybe tell a lie to a one killer, so on and so forth. But actually it's not just the intention, it's knowing the truth. Because of that, if a bodhisattva had that kind of realization of the truth, bodhisattvas, even the non-virtuous action becomes virtuous. And even more importantly, not all virtuous actions become a sort of a path to the enlightenment. Many virtuous action ends up becoming a cause for higher birth or a good experience. You could even build a hospital, you can save thousands of people's lives, so on and so forth, but it can still be not a path to enlightenment. But with the bodhicitta, not only the non-virtuous becomes a virtuous, virtuous action become what we call path to the nirvana. Okay. And again, now I'm coming back. I will try to explain slightly from a different angle. And this is because fundamentally, bodhicitta is a union of wisdom and skillful means. Yes. I don't know how people, when people practice, you know, Mahayana practitioners, we always say we have to have a bodhicitta. And then the way we practice the bodhicitta is usually like, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, I shall do this and that. Again, here sometimes we get bogged down by the terms such as enlightenment. What we really meant when we say for the benefit of all, for the sake of enlightenment of all sentient beings, what we really mean is for sentient beings to awaken to this truth one way or another. I shall do this and that. I shall light a lamp. I shall burn an incense. I shall circumambulate a stupa, whatever. Okay, so yeah, next time when we think about for the to enlighten all sentient beings, I think it would help if you think in this context to awaken sentient beings to the truth. That if you can really contemplate on this, it's a really that's the highest wholesome thought that exists. From the Mahayana point of view, wish to awaken others to the truth is far greater than wishing to build a lot of hospitals and saving a lot of lives and so on and so forth. So if you think about concepts such as love, compassion, and the bodhicitta, you can kind of make a difference with these three. Wishing somebody happy and have a cause of happiness is considered what? Love, kindness, right? And wishing others to be free from suffering and cause of suffering, that's considered compassion. This is a very standard way of explaining. But the bodhicitta has to have this element to awaken beings to the truth. In other words, to place them in the state of enlightenment. So I was talking about, remember I was talking about a union of skillful means and the wisdom. So wishing to free others from the suffering or wishing them happy. These are skillful means. As well, you know, there are methods such as discipline, ethics, patience, and then samadhi, such as mindfulness. These are all skillful means. But these skillful means, if you, I mean, these skillful means without the wisdom, without the prajna, without the, I don't know, quest for the truth, let's say, for now, all these skillful means are very blind and very misleading also. Okay, pick one. We wish other people to be happy. Okay, without the wisdom, okay, without the wisdom aspect. This is very vague. First of all, we don't even know what is happiness. Okay, we wish no harm to others, but that's also very vague. I mean, the best thing we could do is what I don't want, I guess the others also don't want. Therefore, I will not give him or her what I don't want or what I don't like. That's about the best thing we could do. Or whatever you think you are happy with or you feel blissful, I guess others also wish, so I give. So that's very good. I'm not condemning this. It's good, it's very sweet, it's very nice, but that's very vague. There's not much guarantee there. Who knows? Maybe what you like is what the other person really detests. So shoving down what you like in their throat is probably you are doing not a good thing. So this is why the aspect, this wisdom aspect, if you miss this wisdom aspect, Mahayana idea of the bodhicitta ends up becoming very, very limited and very, I don't know, it's very, yeah, mundane. It becomes mundane. Bodhicitta is not mundane. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, we take a break here and then we will resume again.